Hey collectors, welcome back to the workshop. So a little while ago, I made a video about how I started collecting CDs again. And honestly, it's been a blast, but very quickly I've run into the great collector dilemma that we all run into: storage. Now, CDs are weird, right? I mean, they're small enough that they kind of get lost on a regular sized shelf into the back. You can't really stack them because then you can't use them. And throwing them into a drawer kind of kills the whole pleasure out of collecting them and owning them in the first place. I want to be able to see my favorite CDs, grab them on the fly, enjoy the little pieces of artwork that they are. So today, I'm fixing that. I've got some leftover scrapwood from my drafting cabinet makeover video, and we're going to turn that into a dedicated CD shelf or display. Something simple, functional, elegant maybe, and made just for the albums that I love the most. All right, let's head into the workshop and get started. We'll be starting with 2 pieces of scrap birch, each 3/4 inches thick. I'm going to split them in half, but first, they're not wide enough. So we need to prep them for lamination. To get perfectly clean edges without bumps or gaps, I'm using scraps and double-sided tape to hold both boards together, and I'll run their center seam through the table saw. Cutting them as a pair ensures we get a perfectly matching edge on both sides. Next, I want to resaw these so they're about half as thick. I don't own a bandsaw, so I'm setting up the table saw again, this time with a feather board to safely cut along the edge grain. I make a series of shallow passes on each side, getting closer to the center with every cut. Once I'm close enough though, I switch to a Japanese handsaw to finish the cut cleanly. After that, everything goes through the planer to smooth the surfaces and to make sure both boards are exactly the same width. Now it's time to laminate. That means wood glue on the edges, clamp everything together, and let it set overnight. Next morning, let's take these apart and see what we've got. Looking good. Time to do a little math before making the next cuts. I start by ripping the boards down to the final width of the shelf. Once I have the strips, I move over to the chop saw and cut 2 pieces for the length and 2 for the height. I'm not mitering the corners on this build. Instead, I'm using a rabbet joint. I want this shelf to be strong enough to set things on top of it someday, and a rabbet gives me a bit more strength. That means I need to add about 1/2 inch to the final interior height to compensate. Using an 1/8 inch spacer to set the blade height and a 1/4 inch spacer for the fence, I run the top and bottom pieces through the table saw to cut the rabbets. No router table handy today. You can see where this is going. The sides and back will lock right into these grooves. After that, I check the grain direction, get everything lined up properly, and start glue up. Painter's tape helps keep cleanup minimal. And by the way, I'm choosing to leave the back open. This is just in case I ever want to run a cable through to charge something inside. I use strap clamps to pull all the corners together. It gets a little fidgety at this point, but it works great. Then more clamps, and more clamps. And more clamps. After a few hours, we've got a box. And look at that. 90-degree corners, perfectly set. Now let's clean up the edges with the router and round everything over. It's giving me a nice mid-century vibe, but I want a touch of modern here. I've got a couple small scraps of purple heart lying around, so I round those edges too. They'll make great feet. To attach them, I clamp a board to one side of the shelf, mark 1 inch in from the edge and 1/2 inch from the bottom, then glue and clamp each foot in place. For extra strength, I chose to drill through the bottom of the interior shelf and add dowels into the feet. Though I do need to get a little creative with how I'm using my hammer on this part. quick trim with the handsaw, a bit more sanding, and the shelf is ready for finishing. For the finish, I'm using my go-to. The brand is Tried and True, and it's a mix of linseed oil and beeswax. It brings out the grain beautifully. And it's easy to apply. You just wipe it on with a rag, let it sit for about an hour, then buff it out. Let it cure for about 24 hours before the final wipe down, and then we are done. Here it is, a custom shelf made just for my physical media. It fits my CDs perfectly, looks great displaying my favorites, and keeps everything easy to grab. And it's versatile too. I could use it for games, books, or maybe a mix of everything, I don't know. Either way, I've got to say I'm really happy with how this turned out. All right, collectors, I hope you enjoyed this video today and watching me make this shelf almost as much as I enjoyed doing it myself. I'm very happy with how this turned out. I think it looks great. It keeps my CDs nice and snug the way I wanted it to, and it's going to be a great addition to my room. As always, if you've enjoyed this video, please leave a comment, consider subscribing. We'll be doing a lot more projects like this and all sorts of other things. So until next time, keep on collecting.